All right, so we're going to get started on creating the draws on server side. So currently, if I look at my board, I have something here called create draws. And this is going to look at the draws, and we need to make sure we get our objects correct, right? So we have scriptable objects, which represent the template of object that we're going to create. And then from that, we create an instance of the object. So we have an ID of the scriptable object, which is the template, and that's connected to the instance. So there's one template and many instances, okay? So when I'm looking at the board, this is a board SO. So this is the scriptable object of the board, but I'm inside of the game. So I have two different object types. I have a ID and an instance ID. And so ID represents the scriptable object ID, and instance ID represents that instantiation. Okay? So when I look at create draws, I'm going to clear out any of the game objects in here, and then I'm going to create an instance of a random object of draw piece, and then I'm going to get the piece and create the instance, set the piece properties, and then add it. The problem is that this is being handled on client side, and we need this to be handled on server side. So let's go ahead and open up server side. We're going to add it to this one method, and we're going to cut this stuff out later. So what I want to do is I need to have a number of draws, which is being passed into the board. So my board scriptable object has something on it called number of draws. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for each, and this is going to be a number of draws. So it's a for loop that goes to my board so.numberDraws. Now we're going to create them. Okay? Fallen Hope, you are amazing. Thank you so much, man. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to create an instance of a random object of my draw piece SO. So if I look at my database, and I apologize, I am down one monitor today. My new monitor should be coming in tomorrow. I gave it to my wife for her home office. Anyways, that's why I'm a little bit only looking to the right instead of to the left today. Okay. When I look at the server, or the database, I want to look at my scriptable objects here. No, it's all right. It's worth it. And we want to get the scriptable objects where my discriminator is going to be equal to draw piece. Okay, so when I look at these draw pieces, this table is flattened. So that's why you see all these nulls. It's got a draw type, draw color piece, a draw gem type. It's also going to be connected to a piece, which is going to have a direction on it. So what I want to do is I want to get all of my draw piece SOs here. And we want to get them where it is active. And I'm going to say, create the draw board draws here from all available draw pieces. And then we also want to do an order by GUID.newGUID, so it's completely random. No. Okay. And so now what I want to do is I want to select my draw piece SOs of I. No. I don't want to order this here because I want to be able to have duplicate pieces if that's the way it works. So we're going to call this randomized pieces equals a draw piece SOs dot order by X where my GUID dot new GUID. And we want to get my first or default. So I'm going to call this a randomized piece. Okay. But this is actually a draw piece. So this is a randomized draw piece. Now, if I look at my backend, a draw piece, or my client, a draw piece has a template of the color type and the piece gem type. So a draw piece's properties will influence how that piece gets instantiated. Which means that now I want to create a var randomized piece. So up here we're going to say var piece SOs equals await context dot piece SOs dot where it's active dot toList async. And this is going to be piece SOs dot order by another GUID dot new GUID dot first or default, like that. And now what I need to do is I need to instantiate that piece. But there's two types that this could be. One could be if it's from single player, because if the match is single player, then that piece instantiation is going to be different than if it's multiplayer. So I'm going to say here, if my game dot round, if my match is a match single player instance, and we'll call it C. That won't work, so we're going to call it a match single player instance. Then I need to have an init on this. So a piece SO is a database entity. So this is going right, the entity framework, this goes right in the SQL Server. But I need to have something here that's going to set the properties here of the piece. And it's not a piece SO, it's a piece instance. Like that. And the piece is going to have a direction, which we don't know yet. A draw piece instance, a game player, the game player is null because game player is null because this is a drawn piece, is a board draw piece not yet purchased. Okay, the next property that we have here is the ID is a GUID. Come on. GUID.new GUID. The piece scriptable object is 1. And that's it. So our piece scriptable object ID comes from the randomized piece so.id. And the draw piece instance ID comes from the randomized draw piece.id. And direction. We're going to say random direction is equal to a enum dot get names of a type of direction, and I want to get this as a random. Hey there, Jothrant Studios. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Welcome back to the channel. It's good to have you with us. Are you building this using server-side simulation or deterministic gameplay? Server-side simulation, 100%, because it's a multiplayer game. So deterministic gameplay happens when it's on client side, right? So if you're playing offline, then it's client side deterministic. When you come back online, it'll submit those game object instances to the server, and then I'm going to store them for analysis later as offline. But in order to have online authentication, authorization working correctly, I'm using server side for everything. So initially the game was created in Unity. All of these objects were created within the game itself and managed. I am now extrapolating. Nope. I'm extracting the functions out of Unity, and I'm putting them into this ASP.NET C# project, because it's not ASP.NET, it's a TCP, it's a worker thread project. And so I'm having to translate some of this logic. So for example, right now in create draws on the Unity game, draws were initially being created on client side, moving that over to server side. So we need to do a little bit here for the random to make sure that this is done correctly. I always mess this up a little bit. So if I do like a random C# example, because there's something where I need to like have it as a static so that I don't, it's not able to be reproduced because I want to seed it off of the current time. It's just new random next int, right? That's it. Where's the instantiation of it? Random class constructor. So we could do and I'm almost positive I want this to be a static. It's in the data access layer. So is it disposable? You can still do multiplayer. Super awesome pattern I learned to minimize server costs. You mean by doing it deterministically? What's your what are your thoughts about somebody going in and like doing any of the illicit responses on their client device to then send fraudulent information to the server? If the server's not verifying it and then it gets reproduced out to each of the clients, I think you just got hacked. And so that's why I do everything with server-side methodology. Come on, it's just inheriting from objects, so there is no... There is no dispose for it. So up here, I'll use a var random equals new random of a GUID.new GUID so that we can seed it. It's an integer. Using a time-dependent default seed value is exactly what I want. So down here, servers are cheap, says some game dev. Depends on how you've done your networking, but yeah, I could see that server cost. You know, when you run stuff with like TCP persistent connections, it's a little more expensive and a little more buggy. I have all these different thoughts. Like TCP is great, but I like that HTTP is set up so that, you know, it connects and then disconnects immediately following the transmission. Used by most large games, works as anti-cheat. Let's Discord, and I'll explain it as yeah, no worries, man. Absolutely. You're in the Discord, right? Discord.pixelhorsestudios.com? Absolutely. That sounds great. I think that's a great idea, Jothrin Studios. I appreciate that. So this random direction is going to go from my random.next, and my max value is my... Is there a minimum and a minimum maximum to this? Yeah, minimum value will be 0. My maximum will be my getNames.length. That should return an int, which will cast as a direction. Like that. Peace SO. Looks good. Okay. Pardon me. But if it's not a single player instance, then it's going to be multiplayer. And in this case, I'm going to make a new piece. Down here, and we can make this a piece instance. Now this doesn't care if it's single player or multiplayer, so we can actually just go like this. Save some code. Error line 579, you put... Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just got that. Appreciate that. Thank you. Good eyes. Good eyes. Okay, so that piece is done. So I'm going to do context.pieces.add this piece instance. We're going to call this board pieces equals a new list of piece instance like that. And then we can add that here. Okay. And that's going to be for the board. So down here on my TCP response for match, I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to make this for board. So on my match, this will be called a TCP response board. So this board's going to have a DTO on it. And then it's also going to have these pieces. Piece instance DTO array called draw pieces. Which here I could say my board response is a new TCP board where my board is board. The draw pieces are my draw pieces.to array. Draw pieces DTO, so we need to convert that. And then the last one is a response type is, and we'll add a new one in here for board. So up here, we're going to make a new var draw pieces board equals a new list of draw piece DTO. It's a draw piece instance DTO, right? Just a second. Because each one of these draw pieces should have a piece attached to it. So we're going to need to extrapolate this a little bit more. We're going to say for each one of my item in draw pieces, I want to have a draw piece DTO is a mapper.map to my draw piece DTO called draw piece. I want to set my draw piece DTO dot object type to be a draw. piece instance DTO. But that doesn't address the pieces themselves. Draw pieces equals a new list of piece instance. So draw pieces is a draw piece instance. So here we want to make a new draw piece equals a new draw piece instance, which is going to be a board instance ID. The draw SO ID, which is randomized draw piece.id. The draw type is a piece. ID is a GUID.new GUID since we're overriding those. Move purchase instance ID we'll add in just a minute. The piece ID we'll add in just a minute, and a timestamp. And this is going to be a piece instance dot ID. Like that. Context dot draw pieces dot add draw piece, which we're going to add the word instance to the end of it. And then draw pieces dot add draw piece instance. This is for the draw piece instance. And then finally, I want to have this move purchase instance. Gnome Style says I got COVID fatter somehow. What do you mean? I mean, I sat here already forever, but somehow during COVID games about. Oh, me too, man. Me too. I think that's just part of getting older. And then here I want to have a new move piece instance, which is a move piece second, because you're drawing this on a board. So the move is not done yet. Good. Move is null because it is a drawn piece for the board. That should do it. So down here, where I'm creating my DTOs, I want to have my draw pieces. I added this already. We're going to have a draw pieces DTOs equals a new list of piece DTO. Nope. PIECE instance DTO. And then for each one of my draw piece DTO, which is called draw pieces, I want to do a draw piece DTO is a mapper.map to my draw to my piece DTO. Piece instance DTO. Let's see where it's already being used. Like that. And then its object type is going to be equal to a piece instance. Then I want to do draw pieces DTOs dot add my draw piece DTO. Okay, your draw piece it looks right. So when I look at my auto mapper, hey the UK dude, welcome back to the channel. It's good to have you with us. How are you doing this morning? Love your cup, looks like a chalice. COVID cough, wear a mask, sir. Okay, let's do it. My real the masks I normally use are in the car. Come on there, headphones. I know you want to work. There's okay. Oh, never mind. Melting due to it's too hot here in London. What temperature is it out there? Here what we want to do is we want to have this new map. And the first one is for a draw piece. And we want to do a form member here on the, let me see. Oh, come on. I think my board is breaking. I'm going to have to buy a new soundboard soon. Not soundboard, but mixing board. So you got move purchase ID and board ID. Yeah, and then the next one is move purchase ID. Looks good. And then on player, or on piece, draw piece ID. We want to map that from draw piece instance ID. The same with the game player ID. That's a mistake, but we can fix that later. And the last one is for, that's it. Okay. So on this TCP response board, we want to have my piece instance DTOs called draw pieces. And then you want to have another one here called your draw piece DTO called draw pieces. Second. This is draw piece instance DTO. If I look over here at my scriptable objects, this needs to be called draw piece SO DTO. Which means your draw pieces here is going to be draw piece pieces DTOs. And then your draw pieces draw piece instance DTO. And then we need to add this one here. Okay. Draw pieces board and the response. Oh, the humidity is really high. That sounds horrible. You're gonna see, oh my God. I'm sorry, man. That does not sound fun. Okay, we're going to do a board response here. It's going to be a board DTO. The response type, the draw pieces here is draw pieces DTOs dot to array, and then the draw pieces equals draw pieces DTOs dot to array. That's it for the backside. Good. Okay, so on our front side, on the front side for this, we need to have a new create draws here. So when we do this, what we want is our draw piece here. To be populating from the these are SOs. Shit. That's okay. That's right. Let me check one more thing real quick. All right. Well, if you're new, you guys should know I'm a morning person. So I'm actually beat. I'm done for the day. But we'll be back at, I don't know, 5:30 or 6:30 tomorrow a.m. I'm a morning person. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into the chat. We got an active and supported Discord at our Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And I put all these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Thanks again for staying with me tonight. And I'll see you guys in the morning. We'll finish this up. Alrighty, have a good one, guys.